Bonjour, je m'appelle Céline, j'ai 39 ans cette année. Je suis française, j'ai été adoptée à l'âge de 5 mois.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Damien et je suis le secrétaire général de l'organisation du pôle des adoptés francophones Corée.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are. And welcome to the 2021 World Korean Adoptees Online Gathering. My name is Ju-Yeon Cho, and I have been given the honor of being your moderator for today. For your time with us today, despite your busy schedules. And I do hope that you will be staying with us until the very end. The 2021 World Korean Adoptees Online Gathering is jointly hosted by the Ministry of Health and Welfare of the Republic of Korea, as well as the National Center for the Rights of the Child, also known as NCRC. This year, we have planned a pre-recorded version of our event rather than a real-time online meeting. Because at last year's online meeting, there were some issues with the network, so we didn't want to have the same problems this year. However, I do think that it is unfortunate that we weren't able to see each other in person and have a face-to-face event. Hopefully, COVID-19 will be controlled in the near future and we'll be able to welcome all of our adoptees to Korea. Please know that the National Center for the Rights of the Child will also be able to respond to your various comments and questions if you have any. So please post them during the videos and we'll be able to address all of your questions. And now the theme for this year is My Family, My Growth. And we'll take some time to meet and greet the various different adoptees, to share your experiences, and we'll also allow some time for a very special video as well. So please stay tuned and stay with us. With this, ladies and gentlemen, let us now begin the online gathering. First, let us hear the opening remarks of, first of all, Deputy Minister Yang Sung-il of Health and Welfare, and of course, President Yoon Hae-mi of NCRC. Please turn your attention to the screen.
보건복지부 1차관 양성일입니다. 온라인으로나마 입양인 여러분들을 만나게 되어 아쉽고도 기쁩니다. 그동안 낯선 환경에도 불구하고 입양 가정의 보살핌과 여러분 자신의 노력을 바탕으로 희망찬 오늘을 열어가고 있는 여러분이 자랑스럽습니다. 전혀 다른 곳에서 생활하는 우리를 이 자리에 모이게 한 것은 여러분들 마음속에 자리 잡고 있는 모국에 대한 깊은 애정일 것이라고 생각합니다. 오늘은 비록 영상으로 만나지만 코로나19로 인한 어려운 시기가 끝나면 모국 방문, 모국 연수 등 여러분들과 한국에서 만날 수 있는 자리를 다시 마련하겠습니다. 대한민국 정부는 입양 재외동포와 가족의 삶을 응원합니다. 앞으로도 여러분들의 권익을 보호하기 위하여 최선을 다하겠습니다. 여러분들 모두가 서로가 서로에게 용기와 희망이라는 것을 잊지 마시기 바라며 앞으로 얼굴을 마주보며 서로 웃을 수 있는 그날을 고대하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
안녕하십니까. 아동권리보장원 원장 윤혜미입니다. 바쁘신 가운데 세계한인입양인 온라인 게더링에 참여해 주신 여러분 정말 감사드립니다. 코로나19로 모국 방문이 어려워진 터라 여러분들과 얼굴을 함께 마주보고 하지 못하는 아쉬움이 큽니다. 어려울 때 가족의 품이 더 생각나듯이 이번 온라인 게더링을 통해서 그리운 만큼은 함께 나눌 수 있기를 바랍니다. 이번 게더링은 특히 나의 성장과 나의 가족에 대해서 이야기하는 자리로 마련하였습니다. 가족을 찾고자 많은 분들이 노력하시는 만큼 저희도 할 수 있는 최선의 노력을 다해 도움을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 무연고 입양인 여러분들을 위해서도 다양한 기관과 협력해서 좋은 결과를 얻을 수 있도록 지원하겠습니다. 아동권리보장원은 한국 정부와 함께 여러분의 목소리에 계속 귀를 기울일 것입니다. 내년에는 꼭 고국에서 함께 만날 수 있기를 기원합니다. 감사합니다.
As Deputy Minister Yang Sung-il and President Yoon Hae-mi have both mentioned, we all truly hope that COVID-19 will be controlled in the near future and we'll be able to bring all of our adoptees back to Korea next year. And next, we also have a very special message from Ms. Shin Era, the brand ambassador for NCRC. She has sent us a message encouraging and supporting all of our adoptees. Please turn your attention to the screen.
안녕하세요, 신혜라입니다. 국내외 많은 입양인분들이 모이는 그런 좋은 자리가 있다고 해서 인사드리려고 합니다. 비록 코로나 때문에, 코비드 때문에 직접 만나서 좋은 시간을 보내지는 못하지만 대신 국내에 계신 분이나 또는 해외 어디에 계신 분이나 함께 영상으로 만나서 즐거운 시간을 가질 수 있게 되면 좋겠습니다. 다음번에 대면으로 만나는 그날까지 건강하시고 무엇보다 코로나와 뚝 떨어져 지내시고 행복하게 지내시다 언젠가 직접 뵐 수 있는 그런 날이 오기를 바라겠습니다. 여러분들 응원합니다.
And now, just as Ms. Shin has mentioned in her video, let us begin the online gathering by truly cheering each other on and encouraging ourselves. So let's first take a look at the National Center for Rights of the Child's Korea Adoption Services and its activities. We prepared a video.
Introduction to Origin Search. Adoption-related records and adoption information disclosure.
Donc c'est Taegu City, dans une rue qui est située près du cinéma Subu.
Documents for adoption vary on a case-by-case basis, and the document names may also vary depending on the time and on the adoption agency. Adoption-related records are currently kept in the archives of adoption agencies and at National Center for the Rights of the Child. However, adoption-related records management for adoptees' birth family search got strengthened as permanent preservation of adoption-related records became mandatory. Therefore, NCRC has been continuously identifying agencies that keep adoption-related records since 2012 and digitized verified adoption documents together with the original document so as to permanently preserve them in NCRC's archive. Additionally, the Adoption Centralized Management System was established to manage adoption-related records systematically. After the Act on Special Cases Concerning Adoption went into effect, when an agency is closed, the records get transferred to NCRC and are preserved and managed strictly.
Pour renouer avec mes origines et retrouver ma famille biologique.
Car le temps est déjà à passer.
Journey to find my roots to discover the reason for my existence. We will continue to do our best in preserving the adoption-related records and continuously provide services to assist you with finding your birth family.
So in addition to that video content that you just saw, there is a variety of support that the NCRC is providing for you. If you need any more information or if you have any questions, we have the subtitles down below. Please visit our website or send us a direct email to the address below. And now the following is a brief summary of the online gathering that happened last year in 2020. We'll also have a chance to listen to some of the stories of the adoptees who participated last year. So please turn your attention to the screen.
Oh, wow. That's quite a few of you who visited.
I think it's my turn. My name is Chris Hemen. My Korean name is Kim Hyun Moo. I moved here about a year and a half ago.
It's called Going Home. It's a virtual visit to your hometowns.
Very good, very good.
So until we meet in person next year, this is farewell.
Stay healthy and strong. We're going to beat the virus.
We are. Thank you.
So my reaction to the previous conference, I was not aware of NCRC until a close family friend who also adopted Korean children sent me a link. But after watching the 2020 gathering, I'm motivated to utilize NCRCs to assist me in doing some family research. At least it'll be a starting point because previously I thought it was such a huge effort to undertake by myself and it was almost impossible to do. I love that the organisation has made it a goal to assist Korean adoptees in getting in touch with their roots, whether that be through family tracing or through helping to learn Korean language and culture, which I had dabbled in when I was in university but hadn't really touched on the family tracing. Basically, they're telling us that we know you're out there, Korean adoptees, and we want to introduce you to your second unknown home and welcome you to it. That was very informative. Like I said previously, the event had given me the kick up the butt that I needed to sort of get my passion going again to finding out my background. And also it has sort of reconfirmed my desire that I will, when the boys, my two younger children, are older, take them to Korea to explore that part of their heritage as well. So yeah, it's a very great event, and I hope that it continues to be done for many more years to come.
Thank you once again for your valuable feedback. This year, we also have an event in which you can watch the video and leave your impressions. So please do give us your feedback, your impressions, and of course, it would be greatly appreciated if we can better the event for next year. If you have any good ideas or comments, please remember to post them down below. And now let's move on to the theme of our online gathering for this year, My Family, My Growth. And under this theme, we have 3 different categories that we will be discussing. Many of you have shared your stories with us, but due to time constraints, we will limit the experiences that we'll be able to see every category. But we do hope that you continue to communicate with us. So first, let's take a look at the first category, the stories of being adopted and being raised as an adoptee, as well as adoptees becoming parents themselves.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Lydia, j'ai été adoptée à l'âge de 3 mois dans une famille française, dans un petit village au sud de la France. Et ce n'est qu'à mes 25 ans, quand je suis allée faire mes études sur Lyon, que j'ai rencontré des personnes qui s'intéressaient à la Corée et qui m'ont invitée à découvrir cette culture. Donc j'ai commencé comme ça à prendre des cours de coréen. Et puis ensuite, j'ai fait mon premier voyage en Corée, où j'ai découvert donc la culture, le pays. Et ce n'est qu'au retour de ce premier voyage que je me suis rendu compte que j'avais découvert en fait pas un pays quelconque, mais qu'en fait c'était mes racines, c'était ma culture. Et donc au cours de ma vie, à partir de ce moment-là, je me suis mon attrait pour la Corée. Et ce point est très important pour moi parce que moi-même, maman de 2 enfants, Taya et Manwa, qui portent aussi des noms coréens, Sudin et Junsu, ils ont 7 et 3 ans actuellement. J'y attache grandissent en tant que Français, effectivement, mais avec cette culture coréenne qu'ils apprennent en grandissant.
Hi, my name is Jessie Jinju Hale. I am currently living in Busan, South Korea. Right now we're in the Yeongnam Alps. And I'm adopted to the US. I grew up in New Berlin, Wisconsin for most of my life. My sister is a Chinese adoptee. My mom was part of a book club, and there were lots of families with other Korean American adopted children. So it was really cool to have that experience growing up. And now that I live in Korea, I guess I see how different growing up in the US and growing up in Korea would have been. And went to a Catholic school to begin with, and that was a little challenging. The area that I grew up in was not very diverse. But then when I moved on to public schooling, I kind of took off. I was able to meet lots of friends and meet some other diverse kids. I know there weren't that many Korean adoptees actually my age in my town, but definitely lots of Korean American adoptees who were younger than me. And I've got to watch those kids grow up. Has been really great. And then after high school, or during high school, I was able to have some odd jobs. Around that age, I actually was able to go to Korea for the first time. So at that time, I got to see Korea at 16 years old, and it was a really amazing experience. And so eventually, it brought me back here. I came here on a study abroad, and now I've been living here for a couple years. So that is my experience growing up in America, and that's me here in South Korea. It's beautiful.
Je m'appelle Michael, je suis lyonnais, j'ai 44 ans. J'ai été adopté à l'âge de 6 mois et j'ai aujourd'hui participé à la journée organisée par les amoureux de la Corée. Je suis très content parce que je connais mal la culture coréenne et je projette d'aller en Corée découvrir mes origines, le pays et découvrir un peu mieux la culture. Donc ce sera avec plaisir que je m'y rendrai le plus tôt possible.
That was truly a great experience. Of course, it was a second-hand experience, but nevertheless, it was great to hear all of your stories. Thank you for sharing those with us. And next category is experience with adoptees using the adoption services to help find their birth family members.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Céline, j'ai 39 ans cette année. Je suis française, j'ai été adoptée à l'âge de 5 mois. Je suis revenue vivre en Corée il y a bientôt 12 ans. Pendant ces 12 années, j'ai eu la chance de pouvoir étudier. J'ai un master en études coréennes de l'université ID. Pour ma recherche, j'avais décidé d'entamer une recherche, mais sans attente particulière et sans y mettre tous mes espoirs. Pourquoi? Parce que lors de mes voyages précédents, j'avais rencontré des gens pour qui c'était devenu toute leur vie en quelque sorte. Et le fait de ne pas avoir pu trouver les avait complètement désolés, un petit peu détruits si on peut dire, et avait brisé tous leurs espoirs. Donc je m'étais dit, moi, si je fais une recherche, ça sera sans attente particulière. J'ai lancé une première recherche en 2005 et ça m'a pris 8 ans. Moi j'ai retrouvé ma mère maintenant il y a 8 ans, qui est très contente de vous voir, de vous retrouver, et ça peut être très oppressant les premières fois. On peut rencontrer une certaine partie de la famille et ça mène à des situations rigolotes. Par exemple, l'année où j'ai retrouvé ma mère, sa sœur mariait son fils, sauf que Elle ne l'a pas vraiment dit aux autres membres de la famille. Et puis en mangeant après la cérémonie, je me suis retrouvée dans une situation où je n'ai pas su quoi répondre. Son frère m'a demandé tout d'un coup, mais qui êtes-vous? Demandez-lui. Et elle m'a présentée comme une amie de sa fille. Aussi, j'étais OK avec ça. J'ai eu une occasion qui m'a un petit peu blessée. C'est une année, 2 ans plus tard, elle a fait sa cérémonie de mariage. Pareil, elle ne me l'a pas dit. J'ai vu une photo sur l'Instagram de ma demi-sœur. Tu ne pouvais pas venir, je ne voulais pas que ça te blesse, donc je ne te l'ai pas dit. Et moi, j'aurais préféré qu'elle me le dise. Je savais de toute façon que je ne pourrais pas participer à cause des fils de son mari et d'autres membres de la famille. Mais j'aurais préféré qu'elle me le dise. Donc, voilà, on est toujours un petit peu entre deux situations. Et quand on comprend la façon de penser coréenne, on peut comprendre le pourquoi du comment. Ça n'empêche pas qu'on soit de temps en temps un petit peu blessé. On se parle, on apprend à se connaître et puis la relation évolue petit à petit. De son côté, il y a quelques années, elle m'a dit oh, maintenant qu'on se connaît mieux, je vais pouvoir t'engueuler. Par ça, qu'est-ce qu'elle veut dire? C'est ce que toutes les mères coréennes font avec leurs enfants. Perds du poids, trouve-toi un copain et marie-toi. Donc maintenant, quand je vais la voir, j'ai droit au speech de la mère coréenne. Ce sont des anecdotes que maintenant on accepte. Il faut s'accrocher, mais ça vaut la peine.
Salut, je m'appelle Maxime, je suis un Coréen adopté vivant en France et suite à plusieurs voyages en Corée, j'ai retrouvé mes parents biologiques et j'ai notamment pu les rencontrer plusieurs fois. J'ai eu beaucoup de chance parce que je garde de très bons contacts avec eux et maintenant que je suis en France et que j'étudie en France, j'ai quelques événements auxquels je peux participer, notamment sur Lyon grâce à l'association Les Amoureux de la Corée. Et ça me permet de retrouver un peu mes racines ici en France. Merci.
Thank you very much for your feedback and your stories. It really is very helpful for us to know what it is that you need in order to better provide those services to you. And in fact, the Birth Family Search Service is one of the highly anticipated services and ones that the adoptees are looking into. And I'm also sure that a lot of you have requested to disclose your adoption information. The NCRC promises to do their best in trying to fulfill all of your needs, and they will deliver the best results as soon as possible. So please, we ask for your understanding and your patience. Time really flies when you're enjoying yourself and listening to the stories and experiences of your friends and peers. So I'm sure that you're all at home and sitting down in the same position for a long time. So now is your chance to stretch out your legs and get a breath of fresh air. And of course, please remember to move around a little bit while you have your eyes glued on the screen. Before we move on, we'll take a short break and show you a show reel, and we also have a very special video clip for you. So please stay tuned and enjoy the reel. And now it's time to introduce you to some organizations that can really help you find your birth family. And this year, due to time constraints, we have limited the number of organizations that we will show on the video. So with that, I'd like to turn your attention to the screen.
Hello, my name is Steve Morrison. As you can see, I look kind of young, but I'm not. I'm 65 years old. Just retired from working on GPS satellite space systems this year. And I'm the founder of Impact Mission to promote adoption of kids. My background is that I became an orphan before I was 5, and I roamed the streets of Korea, picking things up on the streets to eat, sleeping under bridges. Really went through a hard time, and I was placed into orphanage. And I also was transferred to Holt orphanage in Ilsan, and that's where I lived 8 years. So when I went, I was 6 years old. When I was adopted, I was 14 years old, and that really made a difference in my life. I had a really good adoption experience. Really appreciative of my parents, my siblings. There were 4 siblings in my family. So that's what we're all about. And over the years, span of 22 years, Impact in Korea, because we promoted domestic adoption there, we grew and grew. We now have 28 regional groups within Korea, consisting of thousands of families. And we also have Korean Americans that are adopting children from Korea. And so we have a huge group of that. And so total, we have like 34 regional groups, 6 in the US, 28 inside Korea domestically. And every year we get together to celebrate adoption, to promote adoption. And our group was instrumental in bringing National Adoption Day in Korea into reality in 2007. So we're very proud of that. And we also go about advocating transparency in adoption. That means let's not hide our adoption. Let's show our adoption to others so they can be encouraged to adopt other children that need homes. So the transparency, 공개 입양 in Korean, that's what we have done for the past 22 years, and we've been very successful. And we're very proud of that. And it is my prayer and my wish that all the children will grow up in homes, whether they be biological families, whether they be in foster families or adoptive families. Children need to grow up in homes, not in institutions.
Birth Family Search Service provides assistance with direct family search and consultation services, including pre-reunion, reunion, and post-reunion services, averaging over 180 unique cases per year. This year, we also launched Sote, a unique individualized program inviting adoptees back to Korea to actively participate in their search journey.
Go found my birth mother in less than 1 month. I've searched before that for 18 years.
I'm so grateful to Go. They still keep in touch with me. They're still on the case, still searching, even though I returned to the States. They still check on me to make sure that I'm okay, To me, that's the best partnership to have.
language scholarship program through GOAL allowed me to pursue language studies with financial support. And it really exceeded my expectations in terms of having GOAL support behind me. They set me up with a tutor, which has helped tremendously and given me a space to practice my Korean in a safe and comfortable environment.
GOAL works hard to strengthen the adoptee community in Korea by providing opportunities to meet one another. Through different trips exploring the country and by hosting workshops and other networking events, GOAL is able to enhance the adoptee experience in Korea. They also create cultural gatherings and give back to the community by working together with other organizations.
We have received so much help and support from GOAL that is priceless, but I am so grateful, especially for the emergency box that helped us a lot.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Damien et je suis le secrétaire général de l'organisation du pôle des adoptés francophones Corée. Tout d'abord, je tiendrai à remercier le NCRC de nous offrir l'opportunité de présenter notre association. J'ai recherché ma famille biologique quand j'avais 18 ans. Donc on avait contacté mon agence d'adoption et les démarches ont été relativement rapides puisque le HOLT a pu localiser et retrouver mes parents en moins d'un mois. Et lorsque je suis venu en Corée, justement quelques mois après pour les rencontrer, ça a été quand même un moment inoubliable. Dans mon esprit, j'imaginais que les choses se déroulaient exactement de la même façon pour tous les adoptés, dans la mesure où à l'époque, je ne connaissais pas d'autres adoptés à part mon frère et moi. Quand je suis revenu en Corée quelques années plus tard, j'ai commencé à travailler dans une organisation pour aider les adoptés à retrouver leur recherche, à retrouver leur famille biologique. Et c'est à ce moment-là que je me suis rendu compte que mon histoire n'était en aucun cas la même que les autres adoptés. La recherche de famille biologique était beaucoup plus compliquée que ce que j'avais pu imaginer et au final, j'ai pu réaliser que mon histoire était la plus facile qui pouvait être. Quand je me suis rendu compte que beaucoup d'adoptés au final ne pouvaient pas retrouver leur famille biologique, ça m'a très touché et ça m'a vraiment donné envie de les aider au plus profond que je pouvais. Et une fois que j'ai quitté cet emploi, je me suis senti le besoin de créer une association avec deux autres amis. Depuis le début de l'histoire des enfants d'origine coréenne dans le monde et plus spécifiquement dans les pays francophones, donc que ce soit la France, la Suisse, la Belgique, le Luxembourg ou même le Canada, on peut dénombrer à peu près 19 000 adoptés. Ce qui est constaté aujourd'hui, c'est que la quasi-totalité des services qui sont proposés aux adoptés sont exclusivement en anglais. Parmi les francophones, malheureusement, peu d'entre nous parlent l'anglais et de facto en sont exclus. Je considère important de pouvoir communiquer dans notre langue native afin d'éviter tout malentendu, notamment dans des domaines qui peuvent utiliser un vocabulaire très technique, notamment l'immigration, mais surtout des domaines au sujet très sensible et là, tout ce qui touchera à la recherche de famille biologique. Malheureusement, ce genre de vocabulaire, ce genre de nuances ne pourront jamais être corrigés par des correcteurs instantanés. Le PAF Corée est une organisation à but non lucratif composée uniquement d'adoptés francophones. Donc à l'heure actuelle, 2 adoptés vivent en Corée, 1 en Belgique, 1 en France et 1 au Luxembourg. La chose la plus importante à savoir, c'est que la communication entre nous se fait uniquement en français. Le premier objectif est d'effectuer un rôle de pivot entre les associations francophones et les instances officielles ici en Corée. Nous avons été en mesure de créer un partenariat avec les associations d'adoptés francophones et nous leur en sommes très reconnaissants qu'elles nous accordent leur confiance. Et le deuxième objectif s'adresse directement aux adoptés qui vivent dans leur pays adoptif ou qui penseraient ou qui envisageraient de venir s'installer en Corée. Dans la mesure où les agences d'adoption ou le NCRC n'ont pas de locuteurs francophones à l'heure actuelle, nous proposerons de servir d'intermédiaire entre l'adopté et les agences afin de faciliter la communication. Pour ceux d'entre vous qui auraient pour projet de venir s'installer en Corée, que ce soit à court, moyen ou long terme, nous finalisons actuellement différents partenariats pour pouvoir vous aider, notamment des partenariats pour vous aider à trouver un logement, pour de la traduction, de l'interprétation ou encore vous soutenir lorsque vous avez besoin de démarches administratives ou des conseils juridiques. Je vous souhaite à tous un très bon gathering et nous espérons vous revoir tous très bientôt ici. Merci.
In addition to the organizations that you just saw on the video, we do have a number of domestic and international organizations that are helping you. And for more information, please refer to the site down below on the bottom of the screen. And if you need any contact information, please let us know. And finally, I'm sure that all of you have been waiting for this moment. We have time to share the various different thoughts as well as stories of finding your birth family and finding your roots. And that's what you have all been talking about, and everyone has actually been requesting for this service. So first of all, let's look at the videos of those who submitted their self-cam videos.
Keelik Vodopek. I am from New Jersey. I'm a creative producer and anti-racist facilitator. And for me, I realized I wanted to find my roots when I was in university, actually. I had a mentor who encouraged me to do more information and find out more about what it means to be Korean. And I ended up taking this class. And when I was taking this class, I showed up as like an intro to Korean culture and was there showing up, and the whole entire class was in Korean and panicking. And from there, learning and having a great conversation with Marshall, who's my mentor, who said basically find ways to learn how to be Korean that feels comfortable to you. So for me, I started looking at food, theater, music, and when COVID happened, I ended up getting COVID, unfortunately, but everything was okay, and it was like very light symptoms. But a lot of doctors kept asking me like medical history, what medical history, and I kept saying like I'm adopted, so I don't know. And every different doctor that I talked to brought that up and made me really start to think about doing a birth family search. So I started to reach out to my adoption agency as well as Goal, and they started to help me through the process of learning more about finding more information about my birth mother and learning more about that and talking to other adoptees. I got this need, this impulse to want to come to Korea and search more, and it wasn't enough just to look at food, or it wasn't enough to watch movies or listen to music. So I booked my flight and came here, and coming to Korea was like the best thing for me right now, because I'm still in the process of figuring out what it means for me to be Korean. But I've been able to experience so many different things, like walking around, have everyone who looks like me, and what does it mean not to have to deal with racism or not to deal with people thinking that I'm different, and like little things. Like I got made fun of as a kid for using scissors, cutting food, and coming here and saying like that's all you use, and being like, oh wow, I'm actually Korean in this way. So it's been really of a great journey for me in this process of trying to figure out what does it mean for me to be Korean on this journey.
Bonjour, je suis Emmanuel, je suis très content de participer à cette réunion des Coréens adoptés. Je vais avoir la chance de partir bientôt en Corée, retrouver mon pays d'origine et essayer de retracer mon histoire et tenter de refaire l'histoire de ma famille. Voilà, merci beaucoup.
So my name is Katie, and I'm an American adoptee from Michigan. I am 34 years old, and I started my search in 2013 because a coworker and I had talked about it, so it was a very impulsive decision. So I found them in 2013, and I came back to Korea in 2014 to meet my family. And then after the 2 weeks in Korea, I decided that I wanted to move here for a year. And now I've been here for 6.5 years. So before reunion, I think if I could do it again, I wouldn't have been so impulsive about it. I would have definitely taken the time to think about it, do a little bit more research, probably some more therapy. And I think there reunion, I wouldn't say it was good or bad because I think that's pretty black and white. I think there are good parts and bad parts, or positive and negative parts to it. And I don't think it's, oh hey, I found them and now everything's okay. I think it's an ongoing process, and it's still an ongoing process of trying to figure out who I am along with who they are. I know that they also are going through that, and then where we fit with each other. So I think it's worked out for me, but if I could redo it, then I think I would have done a lot more research, or at least thought about it a lot more, talked with people a lot more about it. I would encourage whoever to really think about it. If that's something they want to do, then great, but also consider all of the things that maybe aren't so positive that people don't talk about. I think a lot is weight is put on how lucky you could be to find your family, or how maybe you'll find yourself and you'll be whole once you do. But I don't think there's enough dialogue about how that can affect you as a person, and really all of the other emotions that come up with that. I mean, you can find anger, you can find, I mean, you're gonna have to face the whole abandonment and rejection, and there's a lot of consequences of that people don't think about, which I think it's good to confront all of that, but at the same time you have to be ready and know that that's gonna happen. Thanks for listening to what I have to say. But also, yeah, come to Korea and just expect that there will be good things and bad things to experience, but overall, it's a good experience.
I think that you're all directors now, that you have actually created those beautiful videos by yourself. Those who submitted the self-cam videos and adoptees from the various countries are now behind me. So I'd like to take a moment to have a short conversation with them. So shall we all turn and say hello? Starting off with your saying hello to all the other adoptees. So here we go. Hi everyone, and thank you once again for joining us. It's some odd hour here in Korea as well as overseas, I bet, in the United States and parts of Europe. It's just such a great opportunity for us to get together, at least online, and share some of our ideas and experiences. So with that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to some of the participants to hear about their stories. Let's first start off with Stephen. Stephen Morrison, if you're there, please turn on your microphone and say hello.
Hello, everyone. So nice to meet all of you, adoptees from all over the world. Thank you for being a part of this great gathering. Even though it's the World Korean Adoptee online gathering, and hope that many positive things will come out that will benefit the needs of adoptees all over. And thank you, NCRC. They have worked so hard to prepare this. And I thank all of you for participating. Have a great time.
Well, thank you once again for your comment. And it would also be great in order for us to see each other in person, but unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we weren't able to invite all of you. Anyone else want to tell us a specific experience that they had, or any questions that you have to the other adoptees? Don't be shy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis. I'm from France. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's great to see other people as I am. Well, I've been living in the center of France in Clermont-Ferrand. I went back to Seoul to Holt International Orphanage a couple of years ago. And there's one thing is, I don't know if some other people had the same feeling. when I went back, I don't know if you had the chance to go back to the orphanages, but when I went back to the orphanage, for some reasons, I haven't felt, I was looking for something very emotional, but I haven't found. I can't explain why. I really enjoyed the trip. I really enjoyed meeting the people out there, but for some reasons, I couldn't, I was a bit disappointed because I didn't feel, I don't know, I was probably expecting something very strong that I unfortunately didn't find. And it's still like as if today I'm still searching for something, but I can't actually put my finger on. It's very, very hard to explain. It's like I'm missing a piece of my life jigsaw because I don't know my date of birth. I don't know my birth name because Kim Chae-won is the name that was given by the orphanage. But I am still missing parts of my life previous to roughly 3 years old. And even though I was hoping to get some answers when I went back there, probably because I didn't get these answers, there's still a question mark on that part of my life. I don't know if other people experience that, but that's something that is frustrating, but at the same time, that makes me want to know more about my own roots. Before that, I wasn't too much into the Korean culture. That's only from that particular trip that it sparkled the end, well, not the envy, the wish to know more. So it's kind of a mixed feeling. I can't really explain. It's really weird, but I don't know if other people have experienced that.
So I think that was a question from Dennis's side, and kudos on your English, by the way. You mentioned that you're living in France, but your English was impeccable. But you are asking some other adoptees whether they feel a certain void or emptiness in order to find your roots and to go back to wherever you were and feel that something's missing. Anyone want to talk about that kind of experience? If you've had that experience and if you've actually overcome those experiences, what did you do to overcome it?
Well, actually, if you don't mind, when you made that statement, it reminded me of my first trip to Korea. And I also went to like an orphanage. And the significant part of that is the orphanage was connected to a single mother's home. And it was like kind of like a church. And I was like 16 years old. And I remember, I think I was in one of the front rows of like this church, and the single mothers came up and they spoke about their fears and all of their emotions that they had going through this process of deciding to put their child up for adoption. And even before I became in contact with birth family and anything like that, that experience was really moving for me. And I remember I started crying. All the other kids and parents started crying. And that was really maybe that experience that you're like sort of seeking. I definitely felt an emotional connection. And this was before I really knew anything about Korean culture or all of the really difficult times that single mothers have in Korea. But just to hear that cultural difference, just to hear how these things, as a 16-year-old, I never even considered my birth mother feeling. That was a really amazing experience and a very emotional experience, and one of my most memorable experiences in South Korea in my adoption journey.
Well, that was such a great story. I mean, I don't know if this is the right word for it, but I guess if you found out that kind of emotion when you were 16, you were lucky to experience it and understand that feeling quite at such an early age. So Dennis, did that help answer your question at all, or do you have any follow-up questions for Jessie?
Sure, it's a very interesting actually feedback, and I can sense that from having spoken to other adoptees in France, for instance. Personal experience is always different from who we are, from at what age we were adopted, and no, of course it's very interesting.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that experience. I'm also very curious as to what kind of efforts or what you feel is necessary for the future in order to kind of get over some of your difficulties, or I wouldn't really call it difficulties, but if you had a wish, what would you wish for?
One wish would be to be able to, well, if I had a wish, if I had a wish that is, let's say, impossible, would be to go back in time and find out where I was born. And it's not I'm looking for my birth parents. I feel that my foster parents are my parents, and I'm really proud of having been raised in France by my French parents. However, there's still, as I said, for example, I'm a father since December last year. So I know when my daughter was born, her weight, her size, height, that's something that I don't know about myself. And before her birth, it was always kind of annoying, kind of hurting to hear other people saying, "Oh, by the way, today's my birthday. I was born at, I don't know, 1655, for example." Well, I don't know anything about that. I even don't know if I was born on the 6th of April. So that's the one wish I would love. So maybe I can't get back in time, but maybe DNA and maybe some further scientific research would probably help me to do that. That's probably my only wish, is to know exactly where I'm coming from.
Well, I truly hope that you'll find a certain way to find it out. And now I'd like to open the floor once again to anyone else who'd want to share their story. Anyone else can relate or want to share their story with us?
Who did have information like birth dates or descriptions or anything of their birth parents?
Show of hands?
Anyone, if anyone had that in their paperwork. In my case, I actually did have like short descriptions, birth dates, and like actually a short like history of what happened. And I have no idea who wrote that, and I have no idea who gave that information. Because even when I met,
case by case for us, we have 7 children. We have 5, 6 of us that don't know who our birth parents are, but we do have some vague information about where we were found, or what age we were and things like that. One of my sisters actually knows her birth parents. Hers was a situation where her parents didn't fully give up their rights, even though she was in an orphanage. And so we weren't able to just adopt her because her parents didn't fully give up their rights. So we kind of had to go through that. But yeah, she knew of her birth parents. They weren't very open to keeping that relationship with her, which she understands. So yeah.
I think, Lydia, I think that you were waiting your turn.
Yeah. So I'm Lydia, I'm a French. I was adopted when I was 3 months. I grew in a little town in the south of the France, who nobody knows about Korean culture or Korea. So I grew like French, looking like Asian people, but sorry, I didn't know why I was Asian. I knew that I was adopted, but I didn't know nothing about my roots. So it's only when I was 25 years old when I start to study at the university. So it's where I went to Lyon, and I met some people interested by Korea, and they invite me to interest me to my Korean culture. So I went to Korea a few months after. It was for my first trip. It was like a big emotional trip. Like it was very the blast of myself, So after that first trip, I need to reconstruct myself, being French and Korean. I have had the chance to do this with my family and with my little girl who was 2 years old at that time. So she grows in Korea for 3 months, and being her growing in Korea with Korean culture, and her babysitter was also Korean, so she was learning Korea as better than me, you know. And now one of my hoping is that is to see my girl, my daughter, and my son also to grow like French people, for sure, but also with I want them to grow with their Korean heritage. Also in France, I have a Korean association for Korean adoptees in Lyon. So our association, its goal is to promote Korean culture to Korean and for the second and third generation.
Well, I'm very happy for you that you had that experience. Je suis très content pour toi. And of course, we welcome you back to Korea anytime. We do have a lycée française as well in Seoul. So maybe your daughter will be able to experience the French education in Korea maybe next time.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kara Boss, and I was adopted in 1984 to Michigan in America. And I recently, as many of you may know or may not know, filed a paternity suit in Korea against my biological Korean father in order to gain recognition that I was his daughter so I could have access to him. And I won this lawsuit, and I was therefore able to meet my father. I chose the topic of family reunions, successes, and failures because mine, I would say, is a mixture of both. And I hope that my story can encourage you to keep pushing through if you truly want to know and meet your biological family, and give you some hope that it's possible. And of course, we should never have to go to the lengths that I went to. So my story is, in essence, a success and failure, because I have no regret in the fact that I searched for my father. I was able to find him. I was able to meet him. And even if my meeting did not go as planned and not to the desire that I wished that I could find out who my mother was, I at least can say that I did everything possible. I have no regrets. And since my father passed away in December of this past year, 6 months actually after I met him, I truly have no regrets, because if I would have never taken that initial first step, if I would have never been able to force him to take a paternity test, I would still to this day not know half of my story. I can now tell my children where their DNA comes from, why my son is maybe not as short as he should maybe be given my my height. But there's several reasons why as adoptees it's so important to know our past. And now I have pictures as well of him where I can see a likeness of myself and even my son or my daughter. And I never had that before. So thank you for allowing me to share this story.
Well, thank you, everyone. It was great to listen to your stories, even the frustrating ones, and it's unfortunate that we couldn't provide more assistance to you. But please do keep in touch. If you do have any questions or information, comments, please do contact the NCRC, and they will do their best to help you out. So thank you, and I think that we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
NCRC 수고하셨어요. 고맙습니다.
Yes, thank you for putting our voices out there.
Well, thank you everyone for your time once again and sharing your ideas and, of course, stories and experiences with us. There are definitely various sides and opinions to finding your birth family. I cannot relate directly, but I can only imagine how many feelings and difficulties that you have been through. It's truly amazing that you all have been respecting each other's opinions and you do support each other. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end sometime or another, and it sadly is the time for us to close the 2021 World Korean Adoptees online gathering. So what did you think about this year's online gathering? If you have any comments or questions about this year's gathering, please do let us know and give us feedback so that we can create an even better online gathering for you next year. We have gathered together during COVID-19, very difficult times indeed. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you once again for making the time to be here with us and to share your own stories. And of course, there was a lot of chats going on in the chat window. Thank you for your comments, and of course, please keep them coming. We will still be welcoming any comments or questions from those who weren't able to attend real time. So please say goodbye. Everyone, stay safe and happy. Thank you.